Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Andrea Vall.
And I'm Phyllis Kerr, and we did not talk about our hats, but we both showed up in red today. So
We didn't. I know.
I'm the only one who's qualified to wear a red hat, though, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what qualifies you. It's not.
Oh, yeah, you have to be over a certain age. Yeah.
So awesome. So today we're going to be talking about dealing with the mindset challenges of a social media manager on Social Talk Live today.
And obviously, we need this more than anybody, and that's why we're talking about it.
We pretty much always just talk about stuff we need ourselves, so that's how we come up with our topics.
Definitely.
So, because being an entrepreneur, being your own boss, and especially being a social media manager on social media all the time has, I think, its own special set of mindset challenges that come along. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you want to kick it off, Phyllis? We didn't have a lot of time to.
I don't know, with a little dance. I have my 3 tips.
Okay.
It's interesting. I guess we can just go ahead and start because I'm ready to go. My biggest tip, I'm breaking the rule here. The rule is you're supposed to start with a gentle tip and then a nice tip and then bring it home with the big one, right? Well, I'm flipping that around today, and I'm going to talk about my big one, which I think is the mindset of a social media manager is you need to consider yourself the CEO of your own life. A lot of times when you're doing social media management, because you're in service to people, you start to have a servitude attitude so that you just sort of like lose the boundaries for your own life and defer to sometimes clients' wishes that are just out of scope. They're just not where they need to be for a certain contract. So taking 100% responsibility for your life is the mindset. To be your own CEO is my biggest challenge and also biggest tip for people if they're in this business.
That is a great tip, because I think as social media managers in particular, you have a tendency, and I think this really applies to any freelance type of person. You bring a lot of experience to the table maybe, and you might have the mindset, well, how about we also do this, or you bring some ideas to the table, and they say, oh, good. Yeah. Can you do that too? And the answer is yes, you can. But if sometimes they expect it within the original quote that you provided. So I think you have to be aware of that. And if you're, we're kind of talking very specific here as a freelancer, really, rather than an employee.
Yes, very important. So if you're a social media manager inside of a business and it's part of your responsibility, there is still a little bit of that being your own CEO and being in charge of your own life and not being pushed around or, made to do things that are not what you feel would be appropriate for the job. Because a lot of times that's exactly what happens. They say, well, why don't you do this and this and this and this and this? And then if you find yourself thinking, well, there's just like no way I can do all of that within the amount of time I'm here at the business, then that's something you need to stand up and be strong about. So it's really important, no matter if you're your own business person or if you're in someone else's business, that idea still really applies.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely a great tip. I love that. Tip number 1. So if you're just joining us, we have just already released our tip number 1. That is
it's a sparkly tip. It's a very sparkly
tip. Got to get there, but we're putting it in the notes. So, so tip number 1 is consider yourself the CEO of your own life. And holy hats. Hi, Craig. We do have hats. I'm not wearing a wig today because I had a good hair day. So got to just go with the hat. So that is a great tip. And I think really, really understanding the boundaries there and being an advocate for yourself and is huge.
Yeah. And it's funny how that can just slip away from you sometime because again, we're in service to people. We're helping them do things. And then what happens is you start to feel that more and more, you start to lose that boundary of what's appropriate for yourself. And it's a really important thing. And I've worked with a lot of people who once they turn that around and they get it, oh my God, the power returns. They feel so much better. They realize all these crazy things happening in their life. They have the power to change. And it's one of those mindset changes that can make a really big difference to people. So that's why it's Sparkly tip number 1. Yeah,
that's a great tip. Awesome. Love it. So very good. Because I think, like you said, when you're in service to others, you and I think there's a lot of that working with the right people too, because understanding that what kind of clients are the right clients to work with, and one are the little more crazy making that are everything's on fire until it's not, and you're waiting for them to get back to you, and then all of a sudden it's like an emergency, So
and it's always 7:00 on Monday morning or 4:55 on a Friday. Notice that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You got a number 1 sparkly tip you want to do?
Yeah. So my number 1 tip, and I think this really doesn't apply just to social media managers, but I feel like it's something that I struggle with myself, is to really not get sucked into the drama of social media, because as a social media manager, we're on social media all the time. And there can be a lot of posts that you get sucked into reading. All of a sudden there's some, rant going on about something, and it's easy to get sucked into some of the negativity that you see, and also just letting that into yourself, not even if you're participating in it, but keeping the boundaries around watching what's happening on social media, not getting into comparing yourself to others while you're on social media. I think, we all present our best face forward when we're on social media. We're all having fabulous lives, but just remember that everyone's a person, and it cannot be as rosy as they say all the time. I mean, maybe for some people.
It's really interesting, that whole mindset of keeping balance and keeping perspective in how you do that online. I just want to share how I do that, especially on Facebook, because that's where you kind of get bombarded with this a lot, is that I have found 5 or 6 accounts that are always either visually beautiful or visually inspiring, or always have something uplifting to show me. And what I do is I went into notifications. It's first in the feed. So every single time I go on Facebook, something wonderful is there in the first 2 or 3 posts. And it makes a huge difference in keeping perspective when you're on social media. Right. So that tip of, having a way of having equilibrium while watching the drama is, some people do different things, and that's just the way I manage it.
Yeah. So that is, that's tip number 2 is, keep balance. And I think keep balance really, is around, negative and positive. Sometimes I'm out of balance watching too many, videos.
Cat videos.
I get suckered into those, man. They're so funny. What has been killing me lately is the baby goat in the sweater. Have you seen that one? The baby goat prancing around in the sweater, and they've got different ones. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And I'm watching it. All of a sudden I'm like, 5 minutes have gone by. I'm like, I needed those 5 minutes.
Well, and this is actually kind of goes in with this tip, is those of us who do this social media work. I was hunting for an example for a client, and I said, oh, no, I know that's on Instagram. I'll go find it on Instagram. And then 45 minutes later, I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
So again, with that keeping balance, you have those emotional things to stay out of the drama, but then you have those time things.
Yeah.
That you have to get up and not just be online all day long watching cat videos and
for sure. So Craig's saying I just did a pet approved, cat approved check on my wall since I got rejected for being a notification check mark. I don't know what that's about. Oh, funny thing. Yeah, pet approved. Oh, you got a check. You got a check on your Facebook wall about that? That would be really weird. Anyway, I think I would get that too if there was some sort of approval for I was just for watching cat videos. That's what I think we could like have maybe a filter, when you need to work, you could filter out all the distractions and just put the marketing stuff. And that's, that is another good key too, is when you know your weakness, because if you know that you get distracted by Pinterest or know that Instagram is your weakness, try and do just the very minimum. I know that when I have to get a lot done, I totally stay out of my home feed and I might just look at the interest lists that I've put together that filter through just marketing messages. So I know that if I'm like doing research about marketing, I'm not doing it on my home feed. I'm doing it through a filtered list so I can do some focused research.
Yeah, that actually goes back to being your own CEO because you are now in charge of determining your experience.
Yeah.
And that plays into this second tip also. One of the things I like to do, and if people have been following me for a while, you'll know every now and again I will post on my post in Facebook, I'll say, the Pages feed is like way more interesting.
I see that.
And I just want people to know that there are options and that they don't have to be the consumer, which actually brings up Sparkly tip number 2, which is be the creator, not the consumer. Mm-hmm. And that change of mindset from going from consumer to creator, for a lot of people is a little bit of a tough go because we are trained to take in information. But when we start to push it out and be the creator, be the baker, not the eater, then what happens is that mindset gets stronger into being your own CEO again. So it kind of plays into that CEO tip again.
Right.
But the mindset of going from consumer to creator is a really important one, especially if you're a social media manager.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's huge because if you are the creator, you're stepping out and people are then looking to you as the expert. So I think it helps your status. It helps that people understand that you know what you're talking about because you've written that blog post. And sometimes people get worried. They're like, oh, there's nothing else to say. But that is definitely not true. Sometimes I feel like that too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they wrote it so much better. But then when I start writing it, I'm like, you know what? I have my own take to add to this. I have my own twist on it. I have my own recommendations. I know that people don't always agree on what is the best thing to do on social media or anything really. So I think that don't worry that it's all been said before.
Yeah, that's a very, very good one because I fall into that a lot. And even when I create something, and maybe I'll tell this story sometime, but even when I create something that I have discovered on my own and built the product up and then gone to do the research and found almost the exact thing already out there, it's a little freaky weird.
Yeah.
But if I had done that particular research before I brought out my artistic part of it, I don't know if I would have done it or not. and that little bit of creation wouldn't be here now. And so it's a fine line. You do have to do your research. You do have to do market research and things like that. But you also need to just bring things out that you care about and not worry about what other people say or do. So it's what Craig is saying is very true. Yeah, and you find your own voice. Yeah, your own voice and your own hat.
Yeah, it could be, could be a hat is all you need.
Sorry about that. Oh my gosh, it must be Friday.
Awesome. So we're kind of doing, I know Phyllis brought 3 tips, and then I'm like throwing mine in too. So
go for it.
We're reorganizing, or I'm renumbering your tips as we go here, Phyllis. So if you're just joining us so far, we have tip number 1: consider yourself the CEO of your own life, and don't lose the boundaries of your job or the scope of your job, or what you had set out to do with the client with the client demands. Tip number 2 is to keep balance on social media and make sure that you don't get sucked into the drama and distraction, or even distraction. Tip number 3 is to be the creator, not the consumer. I love that. So my tip number 4 is to wait. Hold on, just a second. I wrote it down on another piece of paper. Okay, again. We have to like. have our own pep talks around the things we need. So my tip number 4 is to have a team where you can vent. It's critical. You've got to have a support team, because whether or not that's a small inner circle where you can each complain, whether that's a large group where you feel safe, like Social Media Manager School is, I think that's huge. It's really been my saving grace. I literally would have quit so many times if it weren't for Phyllis, actually, for no, but for the people around me that understand, who've been through the journey with me, who have grown together, and I can trust their advice, I can trust their perspective on it, on the situations, either if it's with a client or if it's with my own mental set points where I'm feeling discouraged about something didn't go as well as I thought, or I think that it's hard being solopreneurs on your own. We're in this little home office, living the dream, right? But sometimes it's hard. You need a coworker to vent with sometimes. So having a team around you.
Should I tell this story? I don't know. I didn't get permission to tell this. My first experience with a padded room for us was when we wrote the book, You, Me, and Amy. Yeah. And we had a private Facebook group, and boy, we would go in there and just, oh my, because you're trying to write this book, and then Facebook you'd write a chapter and Facebook would change it, and then you'd have to go back and rewrite it. And this was the only place to go and really vent. And it was definitely our padded room for a while. And it was life-saving, really.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. Yeah. I would have quit that book so many times too.
Yes. Yeah. And it's true that, some days, like Daphne says, I delete a few times before I hit publish. There have been many times on social where almost everything I go to publish, I delete, because I realize, oh my gosh, this is just not the place. But you need a place, you need a group. And so if you don't have a group, it's really important. Now, here's the thing. You have to choose this group well, because if, all they do is complain,
right,
that doesn't work either.
No, that's so true. That's such a good point, because people can spend too much time in the group just, belly aching about stuff. And, you need a group that actually gets shit done, and have
skills,
have
skills, and that they're sensitive enough to know when to maybe float an idea for you to try, and when maybe to just listen,
Right. Right. Yeah. Or, give you honest feedback around something. Should I take my business this way? Should I take my business that way? It can be a board of directors there for you.
It's interesting. So masterminds are a really big deal. And, you can have an informal mastermind or you can actually join a mastermind. But my feeling is that if you're going to join a mastermind, it would be better to do it if you can see each other, either on video or in person. I think it's really hard to have a mastermind that's just through the telephone. To me, it feels really, it's hard for me to.
Yeah. I actually, speaking of which, I just had a call with one of my mastermind groups via, oh my gosh, now I can't remember. I am totally blanking.
Zoom.
Yeah, it was Zoom. So Zoom is a great service that allows for a private session where it's very easy to use too. And it's, you can all have cameras, you've got a little chat. And we used to do it on Google Hangouts, but literally Google Hangouts was just so flaky. Sometimes we'd have a private Google Hangout. No one could get in. We had to send out the link 5 times. We had to restart it. It was always flaky when we did it. So Zoom is very reliable and great service.
Yeah. And find that group of people, it's really important. Either that, or when you go for a walk by yourself in the woods and talk to the trees. You know what I mean? Just get it out.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in. You really, really need to have some sort of way to, just vent. It's an important thing.
Yeah. So true.
So what are we up to? How many tips?
So we're at tip number 5 now. Oh, God. I'm counting right.
Tip number 97.
I know, right? I know, right? Because mindset's a huge thing.
It is. It's a very big thing. Now, here's the thing about mindset is that it's not set, right? So my next tip is this is something that you need to have some tools to use because things happen a lot. So you might be on a roll and feel really good and positive and in a good space for about a week, and then something happens, right? So it's
for
not
an hour.
or for an hour, and then 10 minutes, and then whatever. But so don't feel like, oh God, I thought I had this taken care of. It's like that increment kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you've seen the thing with the entrepreneur.
Yep.
This is great. Up and down. That's the way mindset is too. That in general, you're moving into a better space the more that you put your attention on taking care of your mind and your emotions and your spirit. But you really have to not think that you have done something wrong when you fall off the wagon, so to speak. Right. That you just need to re-up and to get back with your mastermind and get back to your friends and to get back to realizing what you're good at doing, which actually the easiest way for me to do that is to do a gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way for me to remind myself, hey, wait a minute. I'm in a house. I got a roof over my head. I got a cool microphone. I got a red hat. I have, things that are going well. So that gratitude helps the mindset when you kind of fall off.
Yeah. Momentum. Yeah. So tip number 5 can be summarized as have a practice like meditation or gratitude or getting outside, whatever it might be, that helps you ride the roller coaster.
Yes. And just to give you a little insight into Andrea's like, I got to run. I got to go.
I know. I actually, so the biggest, I always talk about this as an example of perfect targeting on a Facebook ad. I got an ad targeted to me, and I have jogging as one of my favorite or my interests on my profile, and running, and I've got a lot of running pages that I've liked. And so I got a Facebook ad in my feed that was a t-shirt saying, I run to burn off the crazy. And I was like, Done. That shirt is mine. I ordered it immediately. Hopefully they were tracking it to see how well that Facebook ad did for them. But yeah, that was a big one. So yeah, for me, it is running, and it helps me keep the crazy monkeys to a minimum. And I really love reading positive things too. I think that reading stories, I get Success Magazine. I listen to podcasts that have positive stories in them. And what I love, I was actually listening to one with Seth Godin and Tim Ferriss the other day, and there was this great quote, and I'm going to read it here. It said, people get entrepreneurial block, and it really, I think, could be apply to any entrepreneurial endeavor for only one reason, and it's because they're afraid. And you have to be clear of what you're afraid of and why you're afraid of, and if you're willing, if you care enough to dance with that fear to continue your business. And I just love that whole idea of it's not going to be the absence of fear. It's not going to be that we have to clear our mind and always be positive, because that's just impossible for me. So I'm just always going to know that there's going to be fear. There's going to be some crazy talk in my head, but it's minimizing and it's understanding where that might be coming from. Sometimes it's fear around protecting myself, fear around putting myself out there in a weird hat.
Yeah, it's funny. Our hats. We'll have to talk about our hats sometime and why we're doing this, because some people are probably very confused. But the interesting word that you said there that made me kind of lift up was the word dance, because actually dance is one of the ways that I deal with the crazy. And I have some music that I really love that has very powerful lyrics for me. And because I used to be a singer, singing actually changes my brain physiology, my brain psychology, the chemistry of my brain. So that's why it's really important for me to sing. And a lot of times I'll start my day with, I have 2 or 3 songs I really, really like, because I know that coffee is going to do a pretty good job, but the singing is going to change the chemistry in my brain a little bit better too. So it's kind of interesting how that works.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So that is a great tip. Now, I don't know if I did I have another tip? I think that was really, because I think you kind of addressed one of my tips. So I think we kind of combined it in there. So I think we have 5.
5 is good.
Yeah, 5 is good.
We don't have to have 6.
Right. We don't. So just to review our tips here, if you're just joining us, Liz is joining us all the way from sunny England. Consider yourself, tip number 1, consider yourself the CEO of your own life. Don't lose the boundaries of the job. Tip number 2 is keep balance on social media. Don't get sucked into the drama or distraction. Tip number 3, be the creator, not the consumer. Tip number 4 is having a support team that will give you a place to vent with a group you can trust. Tip number 5 is have a practice, meditation, gratitude, exercise, etc., that helps you ride the roller coaster. So awesome. Yeah. Love that. So at this point of our Social Talk Live, we usually open it up for either questions, comments. Feel free to come on and join us and just talk about what trips you up, or what kind of things you've found to help manage the mindset challenges. So I'm going to open up the seat. Hats are welcome. Wigs are welcome.
Clothing
is required. Yes.
We need to practice that so we say it at the same time.
I know, right? So feel free to join us and say hi. So cool. But yeah, I think, the thing, like Phyllis said, I think it's never that you are set, it's done, locked up, I've got my mindset. And the thing that's interesting is it really can be, for me at least, hour to hour sometimes. And it does often get triggered by a certain thing. I've definitely started recognizing my triggers. There's certain things I just know I can't go look at online, and it might be things that I wish I had done, or things that people that are doing things that I might be a little jealous of or something, So that I just know that I have to just focus on me and do my work, put my blinders on.
That's exactly right. And remember why you're here and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So does anybody have a particular technique they use to change their mindset when they find themselves falling into a hole? Or is there a particular challenge that you have? Because Andrea and I have lots of tools we can throw at you and give it a try.
I'm actually going to mention another one that I thought of that I've started that I love. I started a while ago, but I love it, is a folder of either clients of mine, people who've taken a course of mine, that is just all kinds of thank yous, testimonials, and it helps remind me of why I'm really here, why I really am doing this. It's not about, it really truly isn't about the money. It's not about being famous. It's really about serving in a niche that I felt was underserved. And also for me personally, it's kind of about showing that you can have a little fun, be your own person, do a little crazy stuff, and not be so serious with business. It's so irritating when everyone's so businessy, talky, jargon, blah, blah, blah. So,
anyway. It's interesting talking about that. I know of someone recently who was doing some work as a social media manager, and they had been doing a really good job, community service and all of that. And then one person came on, was having a tough time, and she put in what she would normally put in there and tried to get them over to customer service. And then the client got very, very upset with the wording, so much so that there were hours spent on those 3 sentences the community manager did. So at some point, you have to realize it's okay, people.
Yeah.
It's all right. Everything's manageable. And to not dive so deep into the drama of something that happens online. It's okay.
Right. I think the other thing is, as a freelancer and as a social media manager, sometimes there are those clients who don't necessarily respect what you do, or they're kind of the crazy clients who think they know better or think that they have all the answers. And it can be very hard when you're trying to serve them with your talents, your techniques, your marketing know-how, and you feel undermined by what they're doing. And I think that is, again, going back to that tip number 1, being the CEO of your own life, because you have to stand up for yourself and be an advocate. And if that client is not respecting what you are providing them, then it might be time to part ways. You guys weren't meant to be together, and trust your own expertise in this field. And it can be hard because since social media is changing all the time, sometimes it feels like you're on shaky ground all the time. You're like, I don't know what Instagram is doing right now. I've been trying to figure out what Facebook's happening, over there. And so and
it's true. In this particular case, this person really did move on because it wasn't a good match, and that was the appropriate thing to do. And the thing is about that, a long time ago when we built the school, we had as the top thing, if you want to be a social media manager, you have to genuinely like people.
Yeah, that's like one of the 2 requirements. Yeah.
Yes. There's only 2, and the first one is you have to like people. And so if you're generally don't like working with people, being a social media manager or a community manager is really not the career path that I would suggest you go. There are other career paths inside of social media that you could definitely do for sure, but being a community manager is not where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that happens with client work and freelance work is the up and down nature of the income, I think, can be a challenging mindset. Let's talk about that. It could be bonus tip number 6.
Bonus tip.
That is a hard thing. And I know that sometimes I'm coming from, especially when I was first starting out and the income was so tight and it was like, I didn't know where my next client was coming from exactly. And then all of a sudden a client fires you or the job naturally comes to an end or whatever it might be. You have to be marketing and doing the client work all at the same time. And that's challenging. But there is a very up and down nature to the income. And so what I have started doing is just having a kind of slush, savings buffer account that is a slush fund for Friday afternoons. Slushy fund. So having a kind of a buffer account so that I'm not making decisions from a place of fear and wondering where my next income might come from, because that might derail me from the project that I really need to work on, where the income might be later. It might be coming, later down the road, and I've got to put the work in now, and the payoff will come later. So that's a big challenge. And, I'm not saying I have it totally figured out, but I think for me, having that buffer fund helps. So I'm not like, how am I going to pay the bills?
Buffer fund. What a grand idea. Gee, I really want to have one of those one day, Mom. Okay. But how I do that in my life is I do buffer time.
Yeah.
So I get really efficient.
You're better about the time. I'm not so good about that time. Up last night from midnight.
I get really efficient to the work I'm doing for other people in my calendar so that I do have big blocks of time that I can put toward my own projects. Mm-hmm. So I'm investing my time into these projects so that they will eventually pay off. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And that's what I'm trying to do as much as possible in my life. Right.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful to have a buffer of time. You're better at that than I am. So it definitely,
It's kind of my thing. Just like my hat, my sparkly hat.
It's your thing. So does anyone have any thoughts on how they deal with mindset challenges? We've kind of given our 6 bonus tips, 6 tips.
Yay, we have some people coming in. Let's bring them in.
Yeah. So, hey, sweet. And Corey is, they're both calling in, and I don't know how to, okay, here we go. Great, Corey's in. Hi, Corey, how are you? And we're going to Dr. Corey. We've got Dr. Corey and Corey.
Oh, geez, how do we do that?
Hello, ladies.
Hi. Hey, to the Corys. All the Corys in the house.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My microphone, I'm sorry, my camera is kind of set up in a weird position right now, and I can't change it. So
yeah, it's all right.
Don't mind this.
You can do looking at both of us.
Here, I might be able to put my desk up a little bit.
So what's your tip, Corey?
Or
I'm a very regular meditator. I have for years, and without that way to step away from work, I honestly don't know what I would do. You probably can't see, but back there I have like my salt block. I turn that on, light some incense, and really get comfortable in my zone when I'm working. If I keep it just work, it's so much harder to tolerate because then I easily get caught up in that drama, Yeah. And I really need my, just my space to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip to organize your environment. Oh, I am echoing.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of echo. I don't know what that is.
Everybody who's on the line needs to put on a headset.
Yeah.
So creating your own environment kind of falls into the being your own CEO and taking control of your own life that way. And I do the same thing. I try to have my desk as beautiful as possible. I try to see what's as pretty as I can in my room. I have Buddha back there, and I have all sorts of things that help me keep a kind of chill space. I also use Focus at Will, which is, and I have it set on the Alpha Chill station so that I can put that in my ears when I'm working on things that kind of keep me kind of in a chill space. Mm-hmm. So those are really important things to me too. So I think a bonus tip from Corey is to manage your environment to support how you want to feel.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I just recently updated my office. If you can see this, I have a sit-to-stand desk.
Yeah, me too.
Greatest thing ever, right?
Oh. I know. I love it. Love it.
I have a sit-in cycle. I don't know if you're familiar with that is. With what that is, it's a recumbent bicycle, but there's no handlebars or anything, so it's just like a seat, and it sits right next to my desk, so at any time I can just hop on my bike and pedal off that like
That's great.
A lot of times too, I watch webinars or something while I'm doing that, and it really helps to keep me focused and on track. You would get that, Andrea, since you run, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you really just have to have that alternate way to let that aggression that you might get out, or else you are likely to vent on social media, and we let that happen.
Right. You know, it's funny. Sometimes I'll catch myself and I'll say, "Is this work? Is this important? Does this support my goals?" I remind myself of why I'm online. And if I can't find a reason for it, if it's not supporting me in my business or it doesn't give me information I need to know, if all it's doing is activating me, then I have learned to just go, goodbye. And I will turn the whole tab off and go do something else and just let things reset. It's really important.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Corey.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Great.
We lost you. So, do you have any tips on managing mindset, Dr. Corey?
Yeah, I personally believe in lifestyle more than anything else. I think mindset is just a very small piece of this whole thing for me. I mean, my background is in psychology, but from personal experience, coaching people and everything, I realized that it is a process. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is a process. It is a journey, and mindset is something that it works in basically steps. So, I mean, that kind of a journey, if you will.
Yes, it's definitely a journey, that's for sure. And you never know what's around the bend. So it's really important to have some perspective, especially on social media. And for so I noticed that you have some things that you do online. Do you work with a social media manager, or do you do your own social media marketing?
Well, I have a platform that is called Dreams Come True Coaching, and through that, basically, me and my wife also, we are in network marketing. But because of the coaching that I do with Dreams Come True Coaching, I have a platform of Net Dream Marketing, and basically we have products as well, nutrition products that basically is another platform with network marketing.
So are you doing your own marketing though? Do you do your own tweets and Facebook posts and all that?
I do Meerkat. I use Periscope and YouTubing, and now I've been new to Blab, but Blab has not been working so well because of the speed, or I mean, this is beginning stages of this platform. So I hope that they get faster with their speed and everything. So it's still a little flimsy, it seems like.
I think it sort of depends on your location because I've been on some, they're just boom, right on. And then some not so much, but it is still in beta. And it's a lot of fun to work with, I hope. And every time I come on Blab, there's something different, something they've moved.
I know.
So
I know, right? That's what they moved the people calling in too. It's over on the side now. It's crazy.
It's
and I like how they've done the comments kind of where they're a little more manageable on the side, where you can show when the comments are coming in. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. They have to keep on updating it more often. It seems like they're very slow on doing that. So it is a great platform. I really like it, but it has to be more workable.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
so you have a great.
Go ahead.
You have a great subject here.
Yeah.
And another piece of the mindset I was going to say is that mindset, it's not something that it's like solid and should be like just, be something that we hold on to. It has to be fluid type of a thing. And I do believe that we have to keep on take a stance and let it expand over time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's so true. That's kind of one of our points in there was mindset is not set. So yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we are at the end of our time here. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, Corey and Dr. Corey. Yay. And thank you all of you for listening in. And we'll see you again next Friday. I forgot to put the subject up for next Friday, but we'll get that up coming up soon. So really great chatting with everyone and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.